music is music and education,
Okay.
and how I know my mother is a principal, and sometimes budget cuts are made where arts, including music and visual arts, are considered as the first pieces to go and are not always seen as core education. So I found that very interesting. And I was wondering if you had any experience with that in your education, or, in your friend's education, where you were seeing music and art kind of take a back seat to
Uh,
children's development and education.
yeah, so I'll say, without name dropping too much and things like that, I'll say that so for a while, I was a preschool teacher. This was from 2017 to 2019, and I had my classroom was threes and fours year olds, and but I also worked with 5 year olds. I kind of went wherever they needed me as a preschool teacher. Um, but I also was hired at the time to be a music director at this private academy. So what I saw happen kind of firsthand was that I was hired as the music director, and this isn't to say that I didn't enjoy working at this place or that they weren't like good people, but what I saw happen was that I was hired as the music director, and further and further got pushed back my not my resources, but my time where I was supposed to actually start doing that job. So when I got hired, like I said, was supposed to be a music director, became a preschool teacher out of need there. And so I had to follow, whatever curriculum we were doing there. And so, of course, with me as a music teacher, I tried to do as much music as possible on my own time in there. You know what I mean? Um, I would always have my acoustic guitar, a keyboard, stuff for the kids to make music with, as far as shakers, sticks, things like that. So I still kept the music in my class, but I didn't get to do what I was supposed to do because they kept, I don't know if it was necessarily budget cuts, but it was like the music was secondary, right? It was kind of like, we'll get to it when we get to it kind of thing. And I was like, well, wait a second, I'm supposed to be, a music director for the entire school here. So I had to find my own ways to get into other classrooms. So I'd set aside time, when we were in ratio and everything else, I would set aside time to visit other classrooms. And what was really awesome that I thought was there was an infant classroom, newborns essentially, right? And I got to go in there and play music for them while they were in their cribs and all that kind of stuff. And it was really crazy how much they reacted to the music, and would either focus or calm down, or you don't, I don't know. I obviously have a kid, so I kind of know, but like you see these little people, these little infants that actually lock eyes with you and start to focus on exactly what you're doing. And then when you stop, you can tell that they're like, wait, I want more of that. What was that? And so as far as I know, so that's like my first experience. So I work at School of Rock, obviously now. So music is our priority. So the awesome thing about us is we don't ever have to worry about music taking a backseat. It's always, that's why people come to us. So, but as far as growing up, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. So music was always in the classroom, or in our schools. I never saw the cuts made when I was coming through. Like I graduated high school in 2001. So I never saw music actually disappear. There was always band, there was always chorus. And in fact, my senior year, I played sports a lot of the time growing up, but by my senior year, I had an active band that was playing a lot. And then I started doing musicals at my high school. So I went, not that you can't do sports and musicals, but I kind of, went into doing musicals. And so my senior year, the music director was like, "Hey, why don't you join advanced ensemble?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't done the other classes, the prerequisites." And she was like, "I'll skip you." So I skipped through all the like prerequisites, and then I got to do advanced ensemble my senior year. So like I said, for me, and I think in the counties I'm from North Carolina originally, in Asheville. So I think those schools were still getting that fostered, the arts were still there. But I do remember hearing a lot of stories when I was in college, and I guess in the mid to late 2000s, about just nationwide. I remember hearing stuff about music and arts getting cut because of budgetary reasons or whatever it might be. So I didn't dig deep into that because I wasn't affected at the time or didn't really think about it too much. And I'm not sure what the situation is now, but I do know with places like School of Rock and things like that existing, let's say they're not getting it at school. Well, there's definitely options that are extracurricular or after school, which is pretty cool, I think. And I guess those have always kind of been there. But when you have a school that's like dedicated to like performing and playing with others and having bands and stuff, it's a kind of a different ball game. But anyway, I talk way too long, so if you ever need to cut me off, please do, so we can. I know I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'm sure you have tons of questions, so
I love to hear it all.
sure.
Um, Kind of on the basis of School of Rock, I noticed that you guys don't have any one particular source of funding. It's kind of up to you guys to create that funding for your school.
Mhm.
How do you go about that? Is it trickier to kind of motivate, the funding for a program that technically is a not normal school dynamic, but
Right.
more of like an organization for kids in their free time or outside of the education system? And what does that kind of, funding and raising look like?
So we obviously there are franchises for School of Rock, and there's also corporate. And originally this school in Short Pump was franchise owned from 2013 to 2018. And then when the franchise, and there was also a Midlothian franchise owned by the same couple. And when they kind of went their separate ways, we got absorbed by corporate. And so we always have the backing of corporate, which is, it feels good to know, like, oh, well, they're giving us resources and things to work with, and we've got new equipment coming in and things like that. And but a lot of it it is kind of grassroots sometimes, because we have what's called our house band. And our house band, I don't know if you saw anything about that in your research at all or anything, but our house band is made up of our quote unquote, I guess, elite students that have to audition. They go through a process. They have to sign, they have things they have to sign as far as commitment, being committed to this. If they do have extracurricular stuff, which we encourage, they also have to know that, this is a very time consuming and serious thing when you make house band. So house band is, like I said, our elite group, and we actually try to take them out as a gigging band. So a lot of the times, old school grassroots style, I guess, we're out there trying to gig and get our name out there, and attract whoever we can when we're out playing. So we usually, we try to partner with stuff that makes sense for us to be out. We'll do things that are obviously more teen and kid related or kid friendly and stuff like that, to kind of get our name out there, and put together a family friendly rock and roll set. Obviously we have our songs that are more heavy hitters and stuff like that, and we can get heavier, but a lot of the times, we're trying to do stuff that's crowd pleasing. But that's another way that we kind of I don't want to say raise money, but get our name out there to attract students, right? Which in turn does that for us, you know what I mean? So we also have end of season shows where we typically try to go to a place that's going to be like high traffic, like Hardywood. We play there a lot. Capitol Ale House, places like that where, you know we're going to be heard and seen. We've done stuff at Westchester before. We've done stuff out at we've done both Hardywoods as far as West Creek and I guess, what do you call that, Scott's Edition, O&B Lane, whatever it is. And then we've done like I said, Cap Ale, the downtown Main Street location. We've played tons of places, and as far as like I said, I think we've done like 10K stuff before, where we're kind of playing for runners that are coming by. And but yeah, I don't see from what I do, I don't see a lot of the like budget stuff or like what are we trying to do here. But I do know that that's part of our draw, is having our house band get out there and be the face of the school. And like Maymont, we play Maymont a lot, or we have played Maymont a lot. And so, we'll do whatever event, the Easter event or whatever it might be. And so here we are out on the stage in front of, hundreds of families. And we just try to, like I said, put together a family friendly set. We'll have an instrumental petting zoo. So kids can come up and, strum on a guitar, play on a drum, play the bass, have some amps over here to make some loud noise, that kind of stuff, just to, because kids gravitate towards stuff like that. And, but another thing we do, as far as our programs, like you were saying, we have programs that obviously are in tiers that kind of lead you up into performance, where you're out on stage jamming, right? So we have like our rookies program where we've got, it's more of an exploration where you've got kids together. You probably learn some rhythm games. We do cool things like play musical pizza, where you're learning how to count quarter notes and eighth notes, and you do it building a pizza. Pepperoni is your 16th note, or it could be your triplet. I know that sounds silly, but it's a way to help the kids like identify, like, oh, if I'm making a pizza, dough is worth one whole note. Dough, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing. So we use those a lot of the times to let the kids explore. A lot of the times kids have siblings, so we're like, get your brother and sister in here, and whatever let's have a family band kind of thing. So we have rookies, and then those kids explore different instruments or whatever and go into 101. And 101 is kind of where you focus a little more. You're still probably on the younger side, 7, 8, whatever it might be, but you're typically going to like focus on an instrument by that point, at least, to try to like start playing with other people and that kind of thing. So we do have a system as far as keeping kids for the long haul, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? And then from Rock 101, you go into our performance program, which is where you're going to be playing upwards to 10 or 11 songs or something, and it'll be over the course of a season. And then we have our end of season shows, which I mentioned. We typically have somewhere really cool like Hardywood or Capitol Ale, or we've played other places before, and you get to perform up on stage with a sound guy running all the sound for you and making you sound awesome and all that fun stuff. So we're just trying to prepare the kids for the stage, and do that through education. We're teaching them by getting them on stage, real life situations, stuff like that. So
yeah, I did notice the house band on your website, and I thought that was very cool to kind of read about and
yeah.
see, kind of the younger kids who are putting themselves on this track and sticking with it, which is great. And you did mention, it seems like a larger time commitment. It's something these kids are actively committing to and know what they're signing up for. I was wondering if you kind of noticed a social dynamic with that, whether there are social benefits to music education or social benefits. Not only just putting all these kids with similar interest in, the same area, but
Right.
just within music education in general, is there social benefits or things just outside of them developing their musical skills with programs like School of Rock?
Definitely. So, you were talking about earlier about arts and music taking a back seat, right? Or getting cut. Now, as artistic people, most of us, everybody has an artistic side to them or a creative side, right? And if you're having to suppress that, that's that's not, you want to be a creative person. You want to be able to express yourself, right? That's what we all want to do, to be able to, I don't know, it doesn't have to be a look at me type of thing necessarily, but you do want to be able to express yourself creatively and get some satisfaction out of that, right? And of course, if other people like it, that's like icing on the cake, right? If you think about it that way. But as far as the social aspect of music, I think it's huge. I think it's one of the number one things, or one of the top priorities for us, because let's say you have kids that maybe don't play sports, right? And that's not to say, once again, that you can't play music and do sports. Obviously you can. But let's say that there's kids at school or something, and maybe music isn't as upfront at school, right? It's all, typically a lot of times it's sports focused or academic focused or whatever it is at school, and so you have a kid that's doing that all day long for however long the school day is. Well, here comes 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Well, now you get to come to School of Rock and you kind of get to let your guard down and be yourself, right? You get to enjoy something that's an outlet for you, like music, listening, creating, covering, because we cover a lot of music, but we also like to really push being creative. I run songwriting camps like in the summertime, and we're trying to get songwriting in at School of Rock to be a more something that's here all the time, something that it's a little more mainstay. But we're still working on that. But socially, like you said, you're here with like-minded people that might have the same goals or might be dealing with some of the same things at school. And I feel like you come here, you get to be yourself, let your guard down. You can talk music with other people. You're creating music with other people. And that goes for all of our groups. Like, we do have lessons only stuff, but we really push the performance side, because obviously the education is our number one, but also our culture, our community that we're always trying to grow, and just have an inclusive, good atmosphere that's a positive vibe. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying, what I've seen, especially even with our younger kids, our rookies, typically those kids aren't dealing with as much stuff as like a middle schooler or a high schooler, but they're still making friends, making friendships. But by the time you get to middle school, you're starting to deal with stuff. We all know how 7th grade goes, right? 7th grade's a wild year, right? But we try to encourage the kids to talk to each other and talk music and find common interests, and work towards a common goal together anyway when they're performing. We've had, like, I don't know, we've had some pretty successful and cool bands come out of the school or start while they're still in the school. So there are kids that are, starting bands together, finding common interests. Oh, we both, we all like this type of music. Let's start a band together. Or we all like these different types. Let's, do some fusion or like whatever it might be. So, and then, Leah, you have those kids that need to be here, right? there are kids that need this, you know what I mean? Maybe they don't like going to school. Maybe they're having a hard time at school. Maybe they're bullied. Maybe there's, whatever going on at home. Well, they come here and they just get to have fun and let their guard down. And they need something like this because it is still structured. We're of course we're about having fun, but we're still structured. We're still a school. We still have the educational side of things, but you're getting that cool social aspect. You're getting a jam with other people. And we're hoping that, for a few hours of the day, if you're doing a show, a rehearsal, or if you are just doing your lessons and you got 45 minutes or whatever, that you're at least getting to, enjoy yourself and play music, have an outlet to just take a deep breath and like let go for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's a great environment to set kids up in, whether they stick all the way to the performance program or just stay at a instructional level. It is a great environment. And one thing I did notice while going around your website is that there is a process for getting in, with auditions or signing up, or just limits on general capacity of students and
Right.
situations that all school programs, I'm sure, have to deal with. Do you think that makes it a little harder for kids to access musical education, or having programs like music schools are spreading the opportunity even more and are creating more opportunity for younger kids to get involved in music?
I'll say this, growing up, I had to really look for people to play with. I had my group of friends, we all liked music, but when it came down to it, some were serious and some weren't, right? So I would be like, I was always striving to like have a band practice, right? Even though I didn't have a band. So it'd be like sixth grade me, hey guys, like this weekend, everybody come to my house. I got a drum set and a couple acoustic guitars. Let's try to write something. Yeah, cool, Greg. And then, they'd come over and no one knew what they were doing. And so it'd just be like, let's watch TV, or let's play video games, or let's make an album cover for a band that doesn't exist, And so there were people more like me that were kind of like, I really actually want to play. And this kind of stuff didn't exist for me, right? School of Rock, I think, started in 1998, 99. And even when I started, I thought it was kind of based off the movie. Like, I thought it was like, the Jack Black film. But what's funny is that movie actually is based off of the guy that actually started it back in like 98, 99. And he legitimately used I guess he made his apartment like a business, and, he jammed with kids. That's what he did. He had the kids turning themselves into a band. And so the lessons only and all that kind of stuff didn't come till later. But I think to answer your question, I think this provides way more opportunity. I know that all the instructors that are typically, I'm not going to date myself because I'm an old man now, but I did say I graduated in 2001. But like I said, this kind of stuff didn't exist. So a music community, at least for kids, I think is harder to find, right? And so as a place like School of Rock that exists, and of course we're all over the nation, franchises and corporate, it's providing an opportunity to play in a band, you know what I mean? And like I said, the education comes with all that. So we're not just trying to get kids to go up and play on stage. That's not the goal. The goal is to teach them real life situations, teach them how to adapt, teach them what happens when you go up on stage. Like, why are you going up on stage? How do you interact with your fans? How do you interact with each other? Like, make it a show. We don't, so we're always teaching like stagecraft. We're teaching like theatrics, it's like, this can be like almost like you're acting, get up there and jump off of a guitar amp safely, of course, you know what I mean? But like, we have kids that completely put on a show, right? It's like their outlet to just, I'm going to be goofy and zany while I play my guitar or whatever it is. But like, yeah, I know you said the thing about the audition process for like house band, and yeah, that does limit some because you have to make it, right? But typically it's gonna, I don't know. I've ran 2 house bands, basically 3 now, and I always try to choose some younger kids too, to give them the opportunity to step up. You know what I mean? Or to say, hey, you might be 10 or 11 years old playing with 17-year-olds, but this is your opportunity to step up. And I always, of course, talk to the older kids about providing leadership for the younger kids. And it makes a good mix, and it looks good when you go out in public, obviously, because you've got younger kids and you've got parents that say, look, there's a 11-year-old kid playing with older kids. My kid could maybe do that, or that would be a cool opportunity. So yeah, as far as house band goes, again, that there is a limitation on that. But as far as our shows go, we'll just keep creating more shows the more people we get, right? So granted that it's still going to be, we're always looking for that educational piece to make sure kids are getting put in the right spots that are going to benefit them and challenge them. But I totally wish I had a music school growing up that was like this, not just like, oh, here, take a lesson. And to be honest with you, I never took lessons growing up. I did everything by ear. My friends and I, by the time we were in late middle school, early high school, we would just get together and figure stuff out together. You know what I mean? And that's how my bands came to be. I didn't have a group of people that I would go to like School of Rock and cover other people's music and then find a common ground there. And I think that's a better opportunity, and if you choose to continue the rest of the way, cool, and still play with those people. Or if you're like, hey, I got a lot out of it and I want to go start my own band now, great, like go for it. That's why we're here, to help you guys learn how to do this stuff on your own eventually, right? So I think the opportunity is huge as far as having School of Rocks and things like that, where you can go and jam with other kids. And I was going to say, like I said, I wish I had that opportunity growing up. I think I can't say whether I would have done it all the way through, but I definitely would have looked for like-minded people to play with for sure. So.
And just kind of as a final question, I was curious about what are the real life benefits, or just benefits that you've seen these children, kind of towards a younger age, like middle school, starting high school, have experienced with music education, and how has music education played a beneficial role in their life that maybe the core education elements haven't as much, or don't impact certain kids as much?
So as far as at our school, a lot of our instructors went to VCU or Radford or whatever music school to major in their instrument, or in a certain genre like jazz or whatever it might be. And then we have a lot of kids that come to our school, and maybe they have it in their head that they want to do this already, or maybe the seed gets planted and they start thinking about this more and more. But we've had lots of kids that have gone on to go to like Berkeley, and I'm slipping my mind other music schools, Belmont, but we've had kids that have gone to music schools and have been really successful, whether they're going into like production or audio engineering or playing, whatever it might be. But a lot of that gets fostered by our instructors, because they've already done that, right? And so we have instructors that are helping kids that are planning to go to music school. You know what I mean? So I've seen a lot of that. At least, since I've been here, I've seen at least 5 or 6 students that have gone on into like pretty successful, either, like I said, sound engineering, or fronting bands that are like out there gigging and doing really well, stuff like that. So there's that side of it. And then can you restate your question one more time, because I lost my train of thought? But
that was actually perfect. I was just talking about your experience with the
sure.
success and benefits
And,
of
then,
it.
and as far as like the younger kids, some of the kids that are like in high school now, I've known since they were like 7 years old. So I've seen them grow up, right? And I've seen what they take serious. And a lot of the kids that I have, hi Leo, what's up, bud? I've had a lot of students that have gone on to take on huge leadership roles in the bands and things, where when I had them when they were younger, it's like, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard the term no noodling, but that means, not playing when you're not supposed to. So we're always like, no noodling. But I go from having kids that I used to have to be like, no noodling guys, or hold on a second, whatever it is, to taking on like full-blown leadership roles in my house band. So I've seen them grow. I've seen them be well-rounded, because sure, they are doing other things at school. I've got kids that do robotics. I've got kids that are in governor's school. I've got kids that are in drama and all this stuff. And I think music, either assists them with that or just helps them have a whole other element to their being. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, not only do I do robotics at, the private school that I go to, I also, am a guitar player for a house band, and people are like, what? And you're like, yeah, I do STEAM stuff, and I do, I build robots, and I do coding or whatever it might be. And I also play the drums for, a metal band. It's like, okay. So, and it just shows you that music can help you. For one, I still think the creative outlet is like huge. You're getting to express yourself and, put a piece of yourself out there. And then I also think, once again, with that social element, I think that's just such a big part, especially for kids. We had the 2 years, essentially of COVID that really ripped people's lives apart, right? And took away any type of, social thing for them at school and everything else. Well, we had obviously our time where we went, where we had to go remote, and teach online, but we would still have, as much stuff where we would still do our performance programs and have all the kids in the room, in the Zoom room together. And we got back to social distancing and being masked and being 6 feet apart. And, we have big rooms in our school. So we were able to have everybody come back by, pretty, or, after the summer in 2020, and get to playing again, obviously socially distanced and masked. But the kids would even say, you don't understand how much we need to be here playing music and like just getting out of the house, getting back to seeing our friends. And I think that's a huge reason why a lot of the kids that, were still younger, obviously we had kids grad out that were during COVID and we didn't get to see them, and it was kind of sad. But the kids that came back and were still like freshmen in high school or whatever it was like, it became like a huge community when they came back, because they all missed each other so much. And it was like, yeah, we get to play music together again. And so I think we're still kind of celebrating that, and we're still kind of getting back on track to where we were after COVID, because, it kind of, like I said, every business probably suffered in whatever way, and kids suffered socially, right? And lost like a part of their childhood, essentially, you know what I mean? So, in our schools, we used to have couches and lounges and everybody could hang out and just chill. Well, obviously that's kind of changed, and we don't have places for kids to all sit together and stuff right now. But point being is, we got back to what's important, and that's playing music together. And I think that's saved a lot of kids. They saved their sanity, first of all, and then they got to come back together and be with their friends, jamming every day. So
Yeah, and I feel like we're just opening the bucket, so I'm so sorry to cut you off, but Zoom is saying I have 4.5 minutes to until this meeting ends. But I feel like that is, the social aspect is definitely a whole nother door to open and go through, because I've seen how it's music has played a role for my sisters, and I'm not necessarily a musician, but arts, at least in my life.
you gotta hop on a drum set.
Oh my gosh, no, you do not want to hear me play music. Rhythm is not my friend.
I got you.
But it was great to talk to you. And
yeah, it was really awesome, Leah.
kind of experience what you've experienced. So that's very fun to see.
I
And
wish we
thank
could
you
have been
so
in,
much.
I wish we could have been in person. I know we missed like 10 or 15 minutes we could have had too, but hopefully you got everything you needed. If you do need anything else from me, you can reach out to me or CJ, and I'm sure we'd be happy to help you again, but hopefully this will be good, you know.
Yeah, this was great. And I had a great time meeting you. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Good luck with your project, okay?
Thank you.
All right, take care, Leah.